Chapter 10. As within, so without. True teaching is not an accumulation of knowledge. It is an awakening of consciousness, which goes through successive stages. Egyptian proverb. By the end of the first week, life in the forest is starting to develop a consistent rhythm. The mornings are dedicated to fulfilling the daily chores, such as the gathering of firewood and live water, cooking breakfast and preparing ingredients for dinner, washing dishes, and driving into town for necessary supplies which may have dwindled. The afternoons are spent socializing by attending the diverse workshops held at various camps, bartering at trade circles, or by engaging in stimulating conversation with any of the 200 some odd eclectic and eccentric individuals attending the gathering. The evenings begin with a clarion call, rousing all who so desire to begin the trek to Main Meadow for the daily Ohm Circle and communal meal consisting of vegan dishes lovingly prepared by all kitchen camps on the land. After dinner is finished, the nightly rituals of fellowship begin. These include the passing of joints in a circle around an open fire, the partaking in of psychedelic substances, and the newborn tradition of the sharing of heart songs by talented musicians at Daddy Camp. Word of the Daddy's musical aptitude spread like wildfire through the forest after our first jam session, and ever since, amazing musicians from every camp have honored us by coming to share in the listening and creating of music. We've been graced by fine artists such as Jaeger Mike with his steel guitar, Trey with his acoustic accordion, Liam and Cactus with their hauntingly harmonious ukulele duets, Blue with his devil fingers that pluck the notes from his guitar while held behind his back, and that guy, who is completely undeserving of his notorious reputation for being an asshole. Tonight is no different, and I make myself useful by rolling joints as instruments are tuned to preference. Home Bum opens with a soulful rendition of Heart of Gold, the pain and longing in his voice saturating every lyric. Everybody present can relate, and we pine away with him, desirous of that one phantom person we would cross the ocean in search of. Jacob and Otter are next, and they pay homage to the Daniel Boone National Forest by performing a stirring bluegrass ballad with fiddle and banjo that is impossible not to clap along to. Tons follows this with a song advising us to do wrong right, if at all, on his 5-string. A brief intermission commences as Nick at Night arrives and distributes cigarettes to everybody. One of the nighters, Donut, is coaxed into joining the circle and contributing to the concert. He has passed a guitar, lights up a cigarette, and places it between the strings and fretboard, using it as a makeshift capo. He then proceeds to sing us an ode proclaiming the virtues of God, caffeine, and nicotine, as the burning cigarette sends up smoke signals produced by the vibration of the strings. The final performance of the night is an extemporaneous quartet comprised of Jacob on mandolin, Obnob on guitar, Uma on ukulele, and Austin on percussion. The jam session lasts until around midnight, at which point medicated zuzus are whipped up for everyone. These are Rice Krispies treats stuffed with marshmallows and Cap'n Crunch and fried in canna butter. There is enough for everybody to have 3, and the lethargic body high soon incapacitates us, sending us to our tents and hammocks in 2s and 3s. The shouted warnings of 6 up and LEOs echoing throughout the gathering are what awaken me, but it is the invigorating scent of coffee that convinces me to get moving. Karma and I clamber out of the tent, stretching sleepily in the morning sun streaming through the treetops. We make our way to the fire, and I pour myself some rainbow brew as "Daywalkers" is shouted from the vicinity of tea time by many voices at once. A scout from Nick at Night hurries into our camp from Main Trail. So, you guys can all hear that cops are in the forest, right? We all affirm, and the Nick at Nighter, Rocky, continues. Alright, so obviously no drugs in plain sight, but also keep your dogs leashed at your side. We don't want any of them running up to the officers to make friends and being shot to death. Besides, it's a ticketable offense. Other than that, welcome them to your camp like you would anyone else. Anybody need a cigarette while I'm here? Rocky distributes cigarettes and then heads off to the next camp, Dumpster Jedi, to deliver his message. We put all of the dogs on leashes and keep them close, then ensure there aren't any joint roaches or paraphernalia laying around. "Heading your way, Daddy," rings through the forest from somewhere beyond the creek, no doubt by another scout covertly shadowing the officers through the cover of the forest. "I've got an idea," Little John muses aloud. "Let's welcome them home with a serenade as they walk by." "That's a wonderful idea," Sloane agrees. "Did you have a song in mind?" "I think I just might." 5 minutes later, Jacob begins to strum a peaceful tune on his guitar as 7 forest rangers, decked out in green uniforms, complete with holstered sidearms, emerge onto Main Trail. As the officers draw near our camp, all daddies as one begin singing, "This land is your land, this land is my land." 6 of the LEOs continue walking, business as usual. Just as swiftly as they appeared, they disappeared deeper into the forest. The one officer who stopped to listen to our song walks into our camp and says, smiling, "That was beautiful." A profound sense of appreciation and kindness emanates from her, and we welcome her home wholeheartedly. "Coming your way, DJK," Austin shouts, then looks at the forest ranger sheepishly. "It's quite all right," she reassures him. "By all means, look after each other as best you can. I just came by to thank you guys." We welcome and thank the officer for her kind and gentle spirit. She responds by asking, "So what's the name of this camp?" "This is Daddy Camp," Karuna answers happily. "Is this your first gathering?" Jacob asks. "This is my 3rd gathering," the forest ranger replies enthusiastically, "and I absolutely love what you guys are doing. I've heard rumors from other agencies about the Rainbow family, but they've all turned out to be untrue. Is this any of y'all's first gathering?" "It's my first gathering," Maya answers. "Mine too," Monk responds. Then Krista surprises us all by revealing, "I'm 4 months pregnant." She grabs Brandon's hand and says, "Brandon and I are expecting, so it's our baby's first gathering too." "Aw," the officer gushes. "That's so adorable." "Yeah," Brandon agrees. "This daddy is gonna be a daddy." "And that daddy has a daddy inside of her," Sloane jests, pointing at Krista. "Well, this daddy has to get back to work," the LEO catches on and joins in on the joke. "Bye, Daddy Camp." We all wish her well as she walks out of camp to rejoin her troop. It isn't until several hours later that the all clear is announced from the parking lot as the officers climb into their government-issued trucks and drive away. Shouts of relief are heard throughout the forest as the word is spread from camp to camp, and joints are rolled up and sparked in celebration. I decide to take Karma up to our van to escape the tension at camp. Maya and I have been sharing a tent, but in spite of our sleeping arrangements, the rift between us is growing wider by the day. It has reached the point where we barely even speak to each other, and it is obvious to everyone around that our parting of ways is imminent. I am smoking a cigarette in the passenger seat of my van when a young man with long brown dreads approaches me. "Hey, brother, I'm looking for Grateful Dead hat pins. I've got Deemsters to trade." "Deemsters?" "Yeah, DMT." He pulls out a small baggie filled with an orangish yellow substance. "I'll trade you a dose of Deems if you have a cool Grateful Dead hat pin." "Take a look at this one." I pull a hat pin from the cup holder next to me. It's Jake the dog from Adventure Time with a steely face. "I got this at Wani." I pass him the hat pin for inspection and he chuckles. "This is cool. I haven't seen this one before. I like it." "Do you want it?" I ask him. "Yeah, let's walk off trail a bit and I'll get you hooked up. I'm Dream, by the way." The three of us disappear behind some trees and Dream begins to load a bowl. "Have you ever smoked Deems before?" "No, but I've been hoping to find someone who has it." "You don't find DMT. DMT finds you. And today's your lucky day. Just smoke it all up in one big hit or divide the bowl into 3 equal hits, whichever feels more comfortable." He passes me a pipe packed with the amber-colored crystals sandwiched between 2 layers of weed. "You might want to sit down for this," he suggests. I sit on the ground next to Karma and lean back against a tree, bracing myself before being blasted off into space. I take 3 deep breaths to center myself and calm my racing heartbeat. Then, exhaling completely, I bring the pipe to my lips and spark the lighter, waving it just above the bowl to avoid incinerating the dimethyltryptamine. I inhale and the top layer of grass catches the flame, transforming the light green bud into a glowing red ember. The DMT just below the surface is cooked by the heat and it vaporizes, filling the air with the smell of new shoes. I breathe in the smelly fumes, capping the bowl with the lighter to extinguish the smoldering substance, and hold the smoke deep in my lungs until I am forced to resurface for air. "Take another hit," Dream urges. So I do, repeating the process as symmetrically as possible, inhaling and holding my breath for just as long before exhaling the vision-inducing smoke. Finish the bowl. I bring the pipe back to my lips for the 3rd and final hit. If the 3 breaths prior to this session were to center me, then the 3 breaths of this session are for my ascension. I flick the lighter and inhale the sacred chemicals as my peripheral vision begins to blur and my lips become numb. I cash the bowl and hand it back to Dream, then close my eyes as the earth begins to tremor beneath me. Geometrical patterns in oranges, yellows, and reds come to life before my eyes, dancing, swirling, and metamorphosing into complex designs impossible to describe. I watch in awe as a microcosmic universe is formed from proton-filled dodecahedrons in a metaphysical game of psychedelic Tetris. A plexus of phosphorescent quarks which radiate into being mesmerize me mere microseconds before coalescing into quivering quasars. Stars are born from the collision of microscopic compounds on a crash course to creation, before winking out of existence in cataclysmic supernovas that send shockwaves crusading through my chakras at supersonic speeds. Eons, eras, and epochs elapse as I exist in a state of suspended animation, an extraterrestrial astonished by the evolution of the Earth. I watch from my Empyrean altitude as the Edens, Everests, and Amazons emerge, while ecosystems everywhere erupt into efflorescence. It is amazing, watching this Arcadian environment give birth to such enchantingly diverse life forms, ranging from aspens and evergreen eucalyptuses to arachnids, elephants, and aristocratic eagles. But the euphoria is evanescent, considering the evil which eventually arises. Homo sapiens arise and proliferate, establishing hierarchies and expressing the hate hidden within their hearts by executing each other horrendously. Aboriginals, Africans, Anglos, and Asians advance through the ages, exerting their egomaniacal dominance upon the earth by exhausting the natural resources and eradicating numerous indispensable species, thus accelerating their extinction and eliminating almost every possibility of escape. Mere moments before the annihilation of the entire human race, I abruptly explode painlessly into millions of minuscule fractals, spinning and whirling into the Earth's atmosphere before being diffused abroad by the winds. I am swept up into countless clouds covering all inhabited continents, and I condense, mixing with the moisture in the air to create a concentrated concoction of consciousness. Lightning flashes, producing an electrically charged chemical reaction, and I am released as rain, falling down upon the masses. I open my eyes, and Dream is watching me intently. How long was I out for? 5 or 6 minutes. How was it? Terrifyingly mind-blowing, I reply. I had a God's eye view of the history of the universe. I saw the creation of the earth and everything in it. Everything in it was almost destroyed by us humans. That's far out, man. You say almost. Does that mean there's a chance we don't blow it? I think so. At the end of the vision, millions of people were awakening to the ugly truth. I just hope, if that does happen, it isn't already too late. Sleep is far from me the night of my first DMT trip. I lie awake in my tent as my mind races frantically, piecing together what I envisioned earlier with what I have experienced firsthand through my coming of age during the American Acquisition, where a lie called the American Dream is force-fed to us, convincing us to devote our lives to the never-ending goal of obtaining more stuff with the myopic single-mindedness and barbaric ferocity of conquistadors, trampling all who stand in our way. Where we are taught to play the divisive game of nationalism, believing in the superiority of our own sophisticated tribe over all other primitive peoples, where we are locked in fierce competition with our rivals, racing about with reckless abandon like so many mindless rodents to be better than, stronger than, more technologically advanced or wealthier than our neighbors, where a person's self-worth is contingent upon their net worth, divided by variables such as the color of their skin, gender, sexual orientation, and religion. The current condition of our world is directly correlated to the state of our collective unconscious, and because of this, we are swiftly becoming a blight upon this beautiful planet. The only way to reverse the damage caused by this self-inflicted disease is to stop attaching significance to temporary things which inherently have no value, and start valuing the priceless and eternal significance inherent in humanity. Virtues such as love, peace, wisdom, unity. Rather than looking down on those who are different, we should remember that we all spring from the same source and share the same soul. It all sounds so simple, and yet, is it even attainable? The question is irrelevant because the solution is our only shot at salvation. The final weekend of the gathering arrives, and with it come 3 wise men from the East, bearing biochemical keys which unlock doors to dormant domains and palatial portals hidden deep within the psyche. They proffer psilocybin mushrooms without prejudice, as rumors abound of a batch of double-dipped blotter held back for benevolent buyers. In my interactions with one of these individuals, I inquire into the validity of these intriguing intimations and am rewarded with an invitation to accompany him to the parking lot. Upon reaching his Durango, he produces a page of Swiss-made LSD, and I purchase 20 tabs after promising not to profane the product by seeking a monetary profit. I thank him profusely, then depart from his presence, determined to distribute half the doses freely. I journey back into the forest, delightfully dividing the diethylamide between my friends and family, feeling at one with fate, as if I am fulfilling my destiny by performing this deed. For every 2 hits I give away, I eat one myself, and by the time I arrive back at camp, there are 3 tabs on my tongue. I dose 4 of the daddies, then lay on the ground, soaking up the rays of the splendid summer sun. Sometime later, a still, small voice speaks up from someplace inside me, encouraging me to eat. I pull out the remaining 7 pieces of paper and pop them into my mouth with purpose. I am slightly feeling the effects of the 3 small squares I have already swallowed, so soon I will be absolutely soaring, considering I am eating an entire 10 strip. I close my eyes and focus on the butterflies fluttering around in my stomach. The strands of conversation spoken by the campers surrounding me splice, combining into a cohesive stream of consciousness which short-circuits my cerebral cortex, causing a spectacular sensation to come upon me. I am filled with serenity as I begin to perceive the synchronous underlying rhythms of the universe. The syllables being spoken are interspersed with split-second spaces of silence, which spiral into a complex pattern, replicating itself unceasingly. I am captivated by the sublime cognizance which overtakes me, and surrender completely to this mysterious phenomenon. The conversation crescendos in a magnificent rhapsody as I mentally conduct this orchestra, a maestro in possession of the sheet music this symphony is playing along to. Or maybe I'm just really fucking high. I can hear the creek calling my name. Kairo, Kairo. So I stand up and head into the forest, separating myself from everybody in the process, feeling deep within myself that something profound and personal is about to take place. After crossing the creek, I emerge into a clearing and am inundated with an intense sense of gratitude for being alive. All around me float philosophical concepts and physical forms, blown about by a wind which whispers universal secrets through its sweet susurrations. Here, a cloud of dust particles transfigure into truth, while above me, beauty itself takes the form of an oak leaf meandering slowly toward the forest floor. As above, so below, the breeze sighs as it whirls around my head. The tangy scent of oranges mixed with yellows and blues follows the wind, and I inhale the intoxicating colors in ecstasy. My consciousness expands, and suddenly I am within myself, hitching a ride through my own olfactory system aboard a vessel of fragrant molecules. The sound of my beating heart is magnified 100-fold vis-a-vis this new vantage, and it fills my mouth with a coppery taste. I can distinctly hear 2 heartbeats in syncopation, one belonging to the outer me, the other to the inner. The space between the separate beats begins to diminish until all that remains is a continuum of pulses, creating a synergy equal to 1,000 monks chanting Om. I open my mouth to add my voice to the chorus, and abruptly the pulsing stops. A sudden Stygian darkness envelops me as I am nearly deafened by the palpable silence. I close my eyes, retreating deeper and deeper within, and am all but blinded by an overwhelmingly fierce illumination. Confronted by the light within the sanctum sanctorum of my being, from this point on, nothing will ever be the same. All at once, I realize I have been holding my breath, and I gasp in a panicked lungful of air. "Oh God!" I cry out, and immediately my consciousness contracts, and my perspective returns to normal. I find myself lying on the forest floor, curled in a fetal position, and realize that my actions over the past 25 years have all been fueled by an egotistical sense of selfish entitlement. Nobody is entitled to anything at all, I reason within myself, yet everybody is deserving of all good things. On the final day of the gathering, Stockpot hosts a renaturalization workshop for the individuals who decide to stay for cleanup. Jacob, Little John, and myself have agreed to attend and relay the information back to the other daddies. One of our more important goals should be to return this forest to the state it was in prior to our gathering, Yoda tells us. If we want to continue gathering in beautiful places such as this, it is imperative that we leave nothing behind except our footprints. That's why we say, cleanup starts the day we get here. So, after tearing our camps down and transporting everything back to our vehicles, we come back to do a thorough inspection, looking for every piece of paracord, every speck of trash we may have forgotten. Next comes the breaking down of fire pits and refilling of holes we've dug. The compost pits and shitters should all be filled in with the earth we dug out of them. Every stone removed from the river should be replaced. We are restoring the ecosystem to the state it was in before we arrived here. Once that is completed, the next step will be aerating the earth we have compacted over the last 2 weeks. To do this, grab a shovel and sporadically stab it into the ground in the areas our tents were set up. This loosens the topsoil and allows the earth to breathe. Finally, fill in the bare earth with leaves collected from the surrounding forest floor. Throw the logs you removed on day 1 back onto your newly renaturalized sites. When all of this is done, your camp should be indistinguishable from the forest surrounding it. There will be a lot of trash bags filled up when we leave here. Please help us all by taking some out of the forest and disposing of them properly. With that being said, many of us will be seeking rides out during and after cleanup. If you have a vehicle, please help our family make it out of this forest swiftly by sparing a seat. Other than that, let's enjoy our last official day together. After the workshop, I head back to camp with the other daddies. There are signs all over the trail advising all with eyes to call your mom, and I remember that today is Mother's Day. The note at the bottom of the signs directs whomsoever desires to locate Jen at Dumpster Jedi Kitchen, who has a working cellular device. So I head to DJK and use Jen's phone to call my mom. It has been 11 months and many, many more miles since I first left home, and not even once have I called my mother. I dial her cell phone, but she doesn't answer the unrecognizable number with the out-of-state area code. So I leave a long, rambling message on her voicemail. I tell her about my experiences in the forest, expounding upon the virtues of psychedelics, and pleading with her to try LSD. I wish her a happy Mother's Day and tell her I love her before hanging up and bringing Jen her phone back. That night at camp, plans are made around the fire, securing rides out of the forest after cleanup. Little John, Uma, Obnob, and Wolfie all need rides, so Maya and I happily agree to bring them at least a little closer to their next destinations, wherever those may be. It is almost saddening, knowing that our time in the forest is almost up, and many of us are deep in thought, going back over all the magical memories we made with all of the wonderful people we have met. All of a sudden, "We love you!" resounds throughout the forest from Stockpot. We all look at each other and smile as DJK follows suit seconds later. "We love you!" Tea time is next, and all of the members shout for everyone in the forest to hear. "We love you!" Austin laughs out joyfully, then looks around the fire at us conspicuously. Everybody ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3. As one, we all shout out, "Daddy loves you!" Filling every syllable with the love we share for these people, for this forest, for this earth. As our echo dies away, Homebum says, "Now comes the hard part. Now we've got to go back into Babylon and incorporate everything we've learned in this forest into all of our ways of living and interacting with humanity." "We're all family," Brandon says. "This world is our home," Krista adds. "And cleanup starts the day we get here," I finish, suddenly realizing what these gatherings are all about. "Glad you finally made it, brother." Little John looks at me seriously before continuing, "because we need all the help we can get." He looks around the fire at all of us and then asks, "Have you guys heard the ancient Hopi prophecy concerning the Rainbow Warriors?" Most of us haven't, and we shake our heads no. It says, and he recites, "When the earth is ravaged and the animals are dying, a new tribe of people shall come unto the earth from many colors, classes, creeds, and who, by their actions and deeds, shall make the earth green again. They will be known as the warriors of the rainbow." The silence stretches on as the implications of who we may be and who we can become fills our minds and hearts with awe. But on a lighter note, Austin jests, "How many dirty kids does it take to change a light bulb?" "You know light bulb?" Uma asks. "There's electricity in this squat?" This from Homebum. "There's change in a light bulb?" Jacob joins in, and the night is once again filled with the light-hearted laughter of people with nothing in the world to worry about. After the 4th day of cleanup, the forest has been completely renaturalized, and Maya, Luna, Karma, and myself load into the van, followed by Little John with Peyote, Uma with Althea, and Obnob and Wolfie, plus all of our gear. It is a full house and quite a heavy load. Whoops. Sorry. Wait just a second. Okay. It is a full house and quite a heavy load, so pulling out of the soft earth beside the dirt road is quite a challenge. That guy pulls us out with his Suburban, and we drive through the parking lot, leaving the gathering site behind. Just beyond the Pioneer Weapons trailhead is a huge pile of trash bags laying on a tarp, with Jen and Red of DJK guarding it. We drive up slowly and roll down the windows. "Are you guys able to haul any trash out of here?" Red asks. "Well, we've got 10 beings crammed in here like sardines," I respond. Red nods his head, understanding our situation. "But," I continue, "we've got plenty of space on the roof." "Way to think outside the van," Jen says, laughing. I get out and clamber onto the roof as Little John tosses garbage bags up to me. We load up about 10 bags with plenty of room for more when Red says, "That's plenty, guys. Save some for the rest of us." Little John climbs onto the roof with me, and we tie down the trash bags with bungee cords and twine. And then we're off. We deposit the trash bags in dumpsters along the way to the interstate, then stop for gas before beginning the journey from the bluegrass hollows of Kentucky to the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. I fill up the tank with the last $100 bill Maya and I have from selling her Pathfinder, then place the change in the center console. We arrive in Asheville that evening and pull up to the yellow house where Uma lives. "I'll be back shortly," she tells us, then hurries inside to pack her bag for the bohemian life of wandering she has recently decided to embark upon. She returns 10 minutes later without a bag. "Well, my dad wants to see me one last time and meet you guys before we leave, but he won't be able to come over until this weekend. Would you guys be down to crash here for a couple days and meet my dad when he gets here?" We all agree to the abrupt change of plans, especially considering we now have the opportunity of showering, doing laundry, and organizing the van for maximum comfort. We grab our gear, then all 10 of us walk across the street to the yellow house on Cherry Avenue.